It has been an incredibly long road, but that road is about to reach its grand finale. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NECC Overwatch 2 Spring Semester Grand Finals. My name is Sam Talks. Joining me is 2Tryhard Ray. And Ray, a grand finals. We started with them, and now we end with them. ISU versus Northwood.
Yeah, thinking back to week 2, the first week of broadcast we had for NECC, where these two teams went at it back and forth. Northwood did end up taking that victory 3-2, but I said at the end of this cast, just wait on this Redbirds team. They had just gotten together in college. They were all at ISU together. They hadn't had a lot of in-person practice time. They've had the time. They've done OWCS EU. They've done so many competitions, NECC, CECC, and now they're in this position where they have all the chemistry, the time together, and now they are firing on all cylinders. They just faced Northwood last week at the CECC LCQ, and they beat them 3-0.
A dominant performance, and one that Northwood is going to remember going into tonight. And of course, they want to spill blood and they want to get their vengeance. But let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket and get an understanding of just how the playoffs have been going. And Ray, I think this is pretty much par for the course of what we expected out of ISU, right? Pretty much perfection all the way through. Northwood, little bit of the same story, actually.
Yeah, I mean, after forfeiting round 1, they haven't, looked back. They've basically been dominating everyone since then, and they have just looked fantastic. So it's no surprises here. I mean, I had a feeling that this had the possibility of being a foreshadowing for the grand finals back when we casted back in week 2, which feels like forever ago. And here we are, the two best teams we have in NECC, and two of the best ones. I mean, the rankings just came out for collegiate today. ISU is at number 1 right now. Northwood is number 3. So these are two of the best colleges we have to offer in the collegiate scene for Overwatch.
And they're ready to prove their mettle, ready to show their worth, Ray. Everything that they have, all of the cards need to be on the table. And of course, what better way than to look at it with the spring season records? An undefeated season here for Northwood, but I mean, right, that doesn't really tell the whole story of what ISU has been doing.
Yeah, again, their one loss was to Northwood, and as I talked about it, they had just kind of gotten together as a team on campus for the first time, so it's no surprise that, it just took them a while to get things going. But let's go ahead and take a look at these rosters for ISU. I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, this is the same team who was left, right, good night in the EU for OWCS. They're just fantastic. I mean, just so much talent. I think Maimon has been such a dominating force on this Tracer. I feel like I've been watching Maimon specifically throughout EU on so many different teams to see the improvements Maimon has made time and time again. Not that he was ever a bad player, but it's like gone from, wow, this guy's a good player, to this dude is dominating.
Hopefully they're going to be able to keep that dominant streak up. But when I say the word hopefully, I think we realistically know that that's going to be a very definite possibility. These teams are ready to bring their A game. And so we've looked at one. Let's look at the other. Northwood Blues turn. We have none other than Rocket Haven, Cowman, CJ, and Vega, harking all the way back at what this team has accomplished and thinking of just where they've come from and how they've gotten here, right? Everything that they have done. Both of these teams giving us their all, giving us everything that they got. And I'm sure that this roster from Northwood is going to be no different, especially through the Fire, the Crucible, and some of the seasonal meta changes that we've had, Ray.
Yeah, talking with their head coach, Faustus, I mean, he talked about how he feels like some of the strengths is these players have kind of just been split off onto so many different like OWCS teams, and whether it was contenders teams back in the day when contenders was still a thing, that they've just gone up against the best of the best and have a lot of experience, that even though they don't always get as much practice as Northwood Esports together, that the experience they have playing on so many talented teams makes up for that, and they basically know their strengths and weaknesses very well when they get together to play as this team.
Well, we've gone through the brackets, we've seen the players themselves, but now it's time to find out where the battlefield is going to be taking place, Ray. And I think, when you get choices, when you get options, we're going to be starting off with none other than Control. And of course, that means Lijiang Tower. But now this is a first to foray, a best of 7. So we have a potential long night ahead of us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with the last match that they had on stream for NECC going the distance 3-2, we could be in for a giga banger of a matchup. And I can't wait to see. I was talking with, as I mentioned, both the teams beforehand, but specifically Northwood, because they just recently got 3-0'd by this team, and Redbird's just a whole different squad from when they first played them in the week 2 of NECC. And they're like, yeah, I mean, they definitely got us that day in LCQ. We feel like we've made the necessary adjustments, and they are ready to come back and feel confident in their ability to win this game, which is no surprise considering the talent that this college Northwood brings to the table. But I was thinking about Redbirds too, talking to them. We are very curious to see what adjustments they're going to make, because we feel very confident about our strengths and our weaknesses in this meta of Overwatch as we stand packed.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Redbirds are still oozing confidence. There's no worries from them whatsoever. And why should there be? They've had a whole season to improve, to make those changes. And when you think about what happened in week 2, Ray, it wasn't a stomp out, right? It was a close matchup that came down the wire. Now it all begins here on Control Tower. And now we get an idea of just what exactly our teams are looking like to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, no surprises here, both going, especially we're on a map like Control Center, where basically Brawl is something you have to run. The Orisa tends to be the better version of the Brawl we see, so very excited to see these two teams going at it, and both teams actually pulling out the Cassidy, which is really cool. That magnetic grenade is going to be really key, especially against Maymon on the Tracer.
Lord, we have already blazed a trail into here. Look at how fast Cowman wanted to be the aggressor into this, and how much front-loaded damage that Kuffa has taken. So close at the edge of death's door, finally going to be pushing through some of the other team members through it. Kuffa's still alive, but Northwood Blue wins out in the initial engagement, which means they get the initial capture of the point.
I mean, just very impressive first fight from Northwood, and they just got aggressive from the get-go. Big javelin coming out from Cowman, and it really set things up. They put a lot of pressure on Kuffa, who had to immediately back up, and Illinois was not able to support that, and they had just got steamrolled in that first fight.
Now we're going to see them rotate back over up onto the high ground. Maymon get into the face of their opponents, rotate back over, and try to provide some of that support fire to Kuffa, who again is just under so much damage. Rocket, quick deflect, keeps them up and alive. They're still going. They're pushing ISU away. Haven't really been able to find any holes in the armor of Northwood. Look at these clean rotations. Rocket stuck by the magnetic grenade, but that's not going to hinder them for too much longer. As again, it's just an extended fight that may finally be brought to heel using this amplification matrix. At the very least, it keeps Kuffa stuck away from the rest of the team. But what a Deadeye. Using that amplification matrix, Rocket is going to be the suffering of that. And with Cowman stuck inside of that Terra Surge, it's just easy pick'ems here for ISU.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate there for the side of Northwood. Cowman basically was, as you mentioned, just in the light of sight of that amplification matrix, so he just got blown up. Doesn't matter about the fortify, too much damage on the field, but Lethal coming up with a big play with that Deadeye, being able to get Rocket out. But Haven's going to have the Deadeye this match, this fight, so will he be able to make use of it? But Admiral's got that sound barrier.
Every single inch is having to be paid for in blood. Now we're going to have another one of these. Haven is going to get pushed right off the bat, and a brilliant javelin spin is going to stop that Deadeye from doing and having any impact. Both of the DPS all up in the business here of ISU. Rocket brings out the blade only to have to sheath it immediately. No value from it whatsoever. ISU making a statement.
That they are savvy. And now you got the Lucio being able to bring back Kuffa. And now you're in a spot where Haven just used the Deadeye in that fight. Lethal's already built up to another one. So that only spells more trouble. Northwood has to hope they get big value out of this incoming amplification matrix.
I had to find value once more. Lethal has another dead eye. We remember what happened last time around. Not going to repeat the mistakes of yore. And there we go. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. Northwood Blue even drew out the countering amplification matrix. Nothing to be found here. And a point regained. ISU getting to 75% almost before giving it up.
That's a massive team fight win for Northwood Blue. Not only did they get all that value out of the Ant Matrix that I talked about they needed, but they got ISU to use 3 ults in that fight. So they have nothing to re-engage here, and Cowman can just get aggressive with this Terror Surge. This is looking disastrous for Redbirds.
Disaster may continue to be written in blood. Haven sees the heads, and they're going to click them off. Lethal's now out of here to follow. What a boop! Wait, it was right there. It was just on the edge, but it doesn't matter. The Terror Surge is going to be the final death knell here for ISU. Northwood Blue not pushing their luck any further. Going to back off. Fight for the final few percent.
That's already 90%. It's going to be tough for ISU to find a touch. They just don't have ults to work with. Northwood has so much coming online. This is just going to be tough sledding.
Overtime. Overtime, someone, Maymon, okay with this. You just give it up, fight without the Tracer, not have to worry. And so with Maymon being the one to make that kind of difference, Northwood Blue has all of this time to work with, and they've made all of the necessary picks. They go right back over, and now you're forcing what's left of the remnants of Illinois State University to try and fight and bring them back into overtime. Again, Kuffa on a desperation, seeing the Doomfist brings Haven out of the dead eye. But really, at that point, what kind of value are you going to try and gain out of this once more? An amplification matrix goes up, but it secures and keeps Northwood Blue alive. And even more importantly, Ray, submap number 1.
It really came down to that fight, Sam, where Northwood was able to only pop the Ant Matrix and get out the High Noon, the Pulse Bomb, and the counter Ant Matrix. So it was just very tough fight, and ISU was not able to recover after that. Their economy was just completely blown, and Northwood played it picture perfectly. They got aggressive. They knew they had the ult advantage, and there was just nothing that could be done for the side of the Redbirds. As we now move to Night Market as the next map, we see some changes coming in. No surprises here. We're just going to get the Symmetra teleporters out, but CJ for Northwood is going over to the Kiriko, getting off of that Baptiste.
Gonna have some more of that maneuverability on this site for good reason. Any mistake, any mismaneuver could cost you everything. Even in an attempt to stay with their team, Kuffa had them on lockdown. Perfect tracking. It looked like CJ may have been in the thick of it. Quick step over, and they're with the team. Not much they were able to gain out of it, though, Ray. It's just kind of back off and wait for the regroup here.
Yes, we see them immediately just taking their swaps. Rocket going over to the Genji, CJ going over to the Baptiste. I think they realized that immortality field and just the amount of heals and damages Baptiste could put out is just going to be so important in this brawl going up against an enemy Orisa.
Now you're feeling a little bit more of that confidence. Javelin spin, needs to stay alive. Kuffa's going to push one back out of their own. These Javelin spears are so beautiful. Cowman getting away with their life, but they had to sacrifice Rocket to the slaughter to make that happen here. Northwood Blue again, not even able to get to the point. Always losing someone to try and even get there.
Yeah, now they find the exiting pick on the Haven, and it's just getting worse and worse for Northwood. They cannot continue to let these staggers come in, and they're just continuing to let the bleeding get worse and worse. So finally, they're able to get out. They're going to be able to reset here. But the one thing is, ISU is just winning these fights in the mid, Sam. They're not having to commit any ults. They're just getting aggressive, finding the pickoffs, and it's working so well.
That's not even talking about the ultimates that they can use right now if they want to. Lethal's going to start off everything. The rip out there. CJ pushed away right into Lethal's waiting eyes. In goes the pulse bomb, slowed down here by the sound barrier. But Maymon is not done yet. They are still on a mission. They are still ready to tear right through them all. Look at the impact. Look at what this Tracer is doing.
Yeah, Maymon is absolutely destroying right now. But Calman throwing in that Terra Surge late into the fight, not a big fan of that one. You were kind of already losing that fight. I mean, maybe if you got a big one and got 2 or 3, but it's just a prayer at that point. However, Northwood will be coming back with both of their DPS ultimates, but Admiral has the sound barrier, just waiting for Rocket to get that blade engaged to use it.
They're not going to let that slip through their fingers. Not while it's so close. An amplification matrix all the way at the back. Amon's pulse bomb eaten by the immortality field, but a lot of that damage being front loaded in the way that it is, you just literally walk right past this amp matrix and tear them all down. Northwood Blue, it was a rocky first round to get theirs, but for ISU, nothing short of perfection, Ray.
You don't even need a sound barrier to counter a blade when Lethal will just pick off the Genji and then get 4 while he's at it in that final fight. That was an absolutely insane fight coming out from Lethal. And I mean, that is just like revenge and vengeance coming out of ISU. They came into that map, just felt like they just had this vigor, like, we should not have dropped that first sub map, and they came out and showed it, man. 100-0. What a dominating effort. Moving over to Gardens, no swaps coming whatsoever, but I mean, it's Northwood's just got to make some adjustments. I think coming out on the Kiriko initially just put them on the back foot right from the get-go.
No mistakes being made this time around. They are here to win. They need to win. It's the final sub map. It's Garden, and it all takes place here. Vega's going to take a quick Javelin Spear before regrouping back up with the team. It's still, though, ISU on the actual point itself. Another 7 seconds before it's unlocked, and that's where the real action is going to start beginning here. But for the moment, it's all just poking, prodding, trying to find out some of those weaknesses. Northwood Blue is finally going to get onto the site. Again, it's Lethal spilling the first blood onto CJ to put things into chaos for Northwood Blue. They still have to try and fight it out here. Out all that healing, Calman has no chance to be able to survive. Wait a minute. It's not over until it's over. We're seeing some of the picks. We're seeing some of the trades go through. It seems like there's just enough, especially with Kappa alive, to really save the day here for Northwood.
Yeah, you get the pick on the Vega. I mean, you do have Rocket, who's now on the Tracer, which Rocket is known for being a fantastic Tracer. I'm actually very surprised. They've been playing the Genji for the first 2 maps, but seeing him now match up. This is the matchup I've been waiting for, Sam. Maimon versus Rocket on the Tracer. Like, they're both 2 of the best Tracers we have available in Collegiate.
Rocket's ready to show us what they're made of. A Northwood Blue, regrouped and ready to go. Kappa already has his Terra Surge, though. Better believe they're going to try and use it. Haven at the Deadeye. All of that may not have been able to kill Kappa, but it was good enough for the rest of the team to do what they needed to do here. Put Admiral on the back foot and take away the usage of this Amp Matrix. Beautiful stick here. Looked like they were going sell, and Rocket's really putting this Tracer to good work. Trying to put it in the nail on the coffin here for ISU. Trying to get this point taken care of. 50%. Northwood finally getting a control of the point. I think we haven't seen since the first sub map.
Yeah, nice, good 50% if you're ISU. And Northwood had to commit a lot of ults to that fight to be able to flip it. That was 3 of their available ultimates. So now ISU gets to come in this next fight with the stronghold on the ultimate economy. Looking at Lethal, he's been lethal with these high noons, has one available.
And he's already going to show us what it may be possible with. Kappa's not going to make the same mistake here. Try to get him, try to bush him, try to move him away, try to do the same exact thing, but Calman is the one still standing, and they're going to get all of the healing to go along with it. Rocket winning out against Maimon. The tooling Terra surges. Admiral needs to get over onto the other side of it to find refuge and safety. And with the rest of ISU alive and well and ready to go, they are fighting back against this as best they can. Northwood, rather. My apologies here.
Oh man, Vega is probably one of the best main supports we have available in NA, and he's just showing it, doing so much for his team. Not only playing, that speed boosted heals with the Lucio, but continuously finding good CCs, finding good boops, and setting their team up for success. And that fight that Northwood just won, getting a lot of ults out of ISU, not using a lot, puts them in a great spot, just like what happened on Control Center.
Ever ticking upwards in the percentage. Admiral waiting for the right time. Pop off the sound barrier. Going right there. You're going to see an amplification matrix. Once again, looking into the windows of each other's souls. Trying to find the right and the precise exact amount of damage. Rocket has a pulse bomb. You need to be judicious in its usage. It's all just making sure that they don't fall to this. It's going to be off the back of this Deadeye from Haven. It's actually going to draw out Admiral's sound barrier. Quick push away from this. They even with sticking. Haven's going to try and take it toe-to-toe against Maymone. And a stick from the magnetic grenade is going to blow this Tracer up to Kingdom Come. The Mages have blown away ISU's chances here. Get right in their faces. Let overtime take away. There's no chance. There is no hope that Northwood Blue is going to let this slip through their finger. A reminder, their vengeance has now started. The comeback from the CECC finals that they just went through. This is not going to be a 3-0, Ray. Not again.
Yeah, I mean, what a first map to open up our grand finals. Both teams played absolutely fantastic, but Northwood, you know, they came out. This time they came out on the third map. They made sure they had their Baptiste, and, you know, once they really got rolling, again, both these maps that Northwood won, to me, it came down to fights where Northwood was able to win with one, maybe two ults committed to the fight, but they get ISU in a losing fight to commit more ults than they did to win that fight, and it just completely blows up the ult economy for ISU, and they just, it happens so late in the round that ISU is never able to recover. And then Rocket on this Tracer is just constantly causing problems to the backline of ISU on that third map specifically.
And Rocket being that Tracer difference, right, for this team, especially on the final sub-map of Garden, really turned everything on its head. Where you were thinking that, okay, ISU, a phenomenal performance, a perfect performance on Night Market, a completely different story. It was so much struggle to try and stand up to Rocket. And it felt like, too, that inspired confidence throughout the rest of the team. I mean, you had instances where Haven was standing up to Maymone, something that we hadn't seen from them in quite some time. And so that just kept burgeoning forward and forward. And it never really felt like Northwood wanted to lose, right? That was the real crux of everything that was happening here.
Yeah, that was the one thing I talked about, because Maymone was on the Tracer consistently all three maps. Cassidy with that magnetic grenade and just the amount of damage it can output onto an enemy Tracer, it was going to be very important for Haven to find their opportunities against Maymone specifically. We did not see it as much in those first two maps, but on that third map, Haven really got going and did a great job of limiting what Maymone was able to do on that third map. So it was very well played from the side of Northwood, all things considered, but this series has just started. All three maps were super close, so neither of these teams can afford to relax whatsoever.
Yeah, we just need a little bit more of that ISU brilliance that we got from Night Market, right? We are going to go into their map choice, obviously. We're wanting to see if maybe this will give them the leg up, the advantage that they've been looking for. And in fact, Ray, we do have that second map locked, loaded, and ready to go. I hope you packed a jacket because it's time for Shambali Monastery.
It's so funny because I forget that Escort is second in NECC. I was like, Shambali already? I'm like, oh yeah, it's second here. So yeah, very excited. The interesting part is they've had Kuffa in, and in the previous matchup that we had against these teams, they were playing Ariel, and that was a situation, Ariel, that was a situation where Ram was very meta, and there was a lot of Ramatra. And that Ariel is great at that hero. So I think now that we're in a situation where Orissa's very good, that's a really good spot for Kuffa to be in. So how are things going to look and change with this tank change up? Very curious, because even in OWCS, we saw more Ariel than we did Kuffa. And that is not a statement on Kuffa whatsoever. It's just dictating based on the meta. And I think where we're at now is a good spot for Kuffa. Just, do they have like the synergy with him, not, you know, previous patches not being able to play with him in the starting lineup as much.
Regardless of whatever happens here, Illinois State University has to be feeling some of that pressure now bearing down on them. We were talking at the top of the show, Ray. Very interested at what some of the changes and adaptations Northwood Blue has made since their previous meeting, right? Well, it looks like whatever changes they've made, it's working out for them. Hopefully, Illinois State University has the answer here on Shambali Monastery. But of course, it is a best of 7, right? So still a lot of opportunities. It's not the end of the road just yet. You don't win out here.
Couldn't agree with you more. Northwood starting out on the offense as Rocket is just going to hard go the Tracer, which is no surprise. Even talking with Northwood's coach before this, they talked about how Tracer just seems like, you know, basically an easy, fun, dominant pick in this meta. So Tracer, I expect to just continue to see a lot of that throughout the series.
He even talked about it a little bit in the patch notes, right? Gonna try and rein her in. Whatever that means. We'll see what kind of craziness that we have out here. But Northwood Blue wants to uproot Illinois State University from their fancy little high ground that they've been holding on to. It's proving to be a much more difficult affair than I think they were expecting. A quick boop away to stop the Javelin spinning Orisa from really trying to get them off of here. Again, the contestation of this high ground is so important. Northwood Blue can get them away or, once again, uproot them. Much better for them. Looking like they're going to be paying for it in blood to even attempt this. ISU gave up a little bit to gain a lot here. In fact, we're already seeing a lethal Deadeye that had been popped just to reload.
Yeah, it feels a little unfortunate because you feel like you probably could have won that fight without the Deadeye. So you kind of put yourself in a slight disadvantage coming into this next fight. But I mean, you'll take it. Skyle was down. I don't think ISU wanted to take any chances. They need to continue to hold this high ground. They could not afford to lose it.
Ooh, they've lost lethal. Just like their namesake, a lot of that lethal damage is going to go along with it. So what was a difficult and bloody affair seems to be so much easier. ISU scrambling to get away. Rocket is not letting this go, not letting it run out of their hands. They see Kuffa, and they want them gone. Sick on the cow, man. They went a little too close to the walking nuclear bomb itself, but Rocket has a pulse bomb of their own, and they're going to blow up their mirror.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a well-traded fight for Northwood. This is where the spawns start to get a little bit more in the favor for ISU. As, yeah, see, Calmate can't even afford to push forward because the players for ISU are already back and they had to wait for the respawners to come in. So now things start to go slightly shifting in the favor of ISU in terms of respawns.
All right, so this Deadeye, again, you're just trying to get into the face. Javelin spin right into the Javelin itself. Well, the immortality field's gone. Calman is going to give us a Terra Surge right into the back line. Rotating over, CJ has the amplification matrix and sees just enough of cover to land the killing blow, the headshot, and Northwood Blue lands point A.
And that's a big boom for the side of Northwood. To get that first point as quickly as they did, normally you spend so much time trying to cap this first point that these next 2 points are really hamstrung in the amount of time you have. And for them, they give themselves 4 minutes to get the second point, especially with the amount of natural high ground that ISU is going to be afforded. They're going to need this time to be able to push this and get this cart delivered.
Slowly making his progress. 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the board. So much wiggle room here. Northwood Blue is really not feeling like they've hit the brick wall just yet. Lethal in this high ground position. Trying to take some pot shots as best they can, but you have the full force fury of Northwood Blue firing right back at you. To make that just a little bit more tricky, but just being this distraction, just being this nuisance in your backline, continuing to pepper them as best you can, is good enough here that it's splitting Northwood's attention, and they're not able to front load this damage away because they have to try and deal with lethal while also trying to deal with what's in their face and what's actually happening on the card itself. Here comes the amplification matrix, and they gotta make sure they're gonna get some usage out of it. Kuffa's gonna meet them here, another pulse bomb, but instead it's gonna be the tank once more to fall from it. Mamo's gonna try as best they can, but they need to find refuge inside of time itself before retreating to safety. You've lost your tank, and now really at this stage, you're just trying to draw away as much time as possible. Northwood Blue is looking nothing short of perfection, Ray.
Yeah, they are firing on all cylinders. You should get a recontest here if you are ISU, and you're going to have both your support ultimates and possibly a pulse bomb if this fight goes on long enough. It's all going to be about limiting the value Haven gets on this high noon.
We're right here at the edge of the point B approach. Haven sees just enough to get rid of Skyle. It may have cost them their own life to have made it happen, but now in comes the Terror Surge. Admiral drawn into it like a force of nature itself, and that is what Northwood Blue is. Record time once more, point B, and still over 3 minutes on the clock, Ray.
Yeah, this is a incredible time bank for a map like Shambhala. I talked about it because of how much time you spend on point A, and then point B is so tough to handle. You normally only get like 1, maybe 2 fights on this point, but Northwoods bought themselves so much time to be able to push this issue. Cowman getting off the Orisa, going over to the Sigma now. They're going to hopefully look to find a little bit more value out of the poke and shielding and, accretion rock you have that the Sigma's going to bring a lot more utility.
Already seeing some usage of that happening here. Amplification Matrix really just to buy time and give themselves a moment to find some of that healing here. But again, it's Kuffa. With the loss of this tank, Illinois State University loses so much of that forward value position. This payload is almost there, Ray. The finish line is right there.
Yeah, the one thing for Northwood is they can't afford to push up too aggressively because they are down their Baptiste, and that high noon's only going to make that matter much more serious. But now that they have CJ back, they can get aggressive here. They have not much to work with, however, just a sound barrier.
High noon just to purchase them some space. A little modicum of breathing room. Without that ultimate, you're just relying on trying to keep Kuffa alive. An immortality field needed to go there. And Rocket maybe a little too crazy with it. Haven not missing any of these shots. Needs to try and batten the hatches as best they can. They have a Deadeye of their own, and Cowman does have the Gravitic Flux. Northwood Blue opting instead to take advantage of the time bank that they have.
Yeah, I think it was just a smart decision to back up and re-engage. Kuffa's now over on the Ramatra to match up against this Sigma. Out comes the Flux!
Out comes the Flux, and this is a sound barrier that needed to be used to make sure that the team stays healthy and alive. One that looks like it's gonna do its job, do its due diligence. And now Northwood Blue, again without Haven, not really gonna be able to find much purchase.
I mean, the good thing is you didn't commit a whole lot if you're Northwood. All you did was throw in that Flux. You're going to have 4 ultimates to be able to use in this next fight. So ISU has to hope Maimon hits a big pulse and Lethal can get something going with this incoming
Ooh. Vega didn't use the sound barrier. They're so confident. Oh! What a Bulls bomb. More like a Bulls nuke. And all of the ultimates in Northwood Blue has held on to has just seen their way all the way through Shambhala Monastery. And not only that, Ray, but with 43 seconds on the clock.
And that, folks, is Rocket. One of the best tracers we have in the NA region, making a big play for Northwood to get that payload across the finish line. To me, if you can deliver the payload on a map like Shambhala, you put yourself in such a good position. And this just puts, ISU, they're not on the back burner anymore. They're on like the front burner. The heat is turned all the way up, and they have to make something happen. I know this is a first to 4, but going down 2-0 can just be so devastating.
This is ISU's map pick too, Ray, right? This was a map where
these first 2 maps have been ISU's map pick. And
Northwood has just had their bell rung, it feels like, at every single turn. A misstep here or there maybe from Northwood, right? You think back and harken back to Night Market on Lijiang Tower, where ISU went perfectly on that. They haven't been able to find that perfection ever since then, it feels like. It may not be that long ago, Ray, but they gotta give us something.
I agree, as we see Cowman doing the right thing, going back over to the Orisa. They're going to be holding the high ground, so once again, it's going to be on the Earnest of ISU to path up to that high ground, as we saw Northwood attempt to do, and take that high ground away. As we see Lethal, who's going to go on a little bit of a flank, trying to throw down some suppressive fire onto Rocket.
Northwood Blue gets a hold on a little more staunchly on this high ground. ISU electing to take a page from that playbook. And this gives Northwood a little bit more free reign to do what they want. Finally, the decision has been made. They have to at least try to take the fight here, and at least try to get them out of here to go along with it. The eviction notice is trying to be served, but is Northwood going to listen to it? And instead of what we saw from ISU and how hard they fought for this, Northwood is going to say this here, but Kuffa, in a really scary position, was isolated from the rest of the team. This forces Admiral to try and have to go deep into the front lines to fight it here. But there you have it. ISU, the window of opportunity is not going to be taken away from them.
Just very well played. Kuffa got extremely low, but Admiral and Skyle were able to do exactly what they needed to keep him alive just long enough to find those kills and clean up the team fight. And now Northwood is looking really good. They're going to have almost all their ultimates online for this next fight, and it might just take one more team fight to get this across the finish line for point A.
So 2 amplification matrices. CJ pushed away from it. Kuffa's gonna find relative refuge inside of the building, and here it is. The pulse bomb from these tracers are always the difference maker, time and time again. We were talking about it, Ray, right? We needed to see something from ISU. Well, this is what we're seeing.
Yeah, that was a beautifully well-played fight from ISU. They only used 2 ultimates. They got 2 out of Northwood. This is them taking the earnest in those fights and making Northwood use as many ultimates as they are in a losing fight. This is how we saw Northwood take Lijiang Tower so well on those 2 maps. Now ISU is getting that in their favor.
ISU pushed away a little bit. Here comes the high noon, trying to stop it for as long as he can, and Haven pushed away and ripped out of it by the javelin spear. Ooh, Cowman, and now you're even gonna draw out the sound barrier in an attempt to save their life, but attempt is all for naught. It's all it was. Northwood Blue starting to feel some of the nervousness come through from this team.
Not sure if I'd call it nervousness, especially since they capped all 3 points. They're definitely in this position where, they're in the stronghold, but I feel like they're going out of their way, like with the individual players and, them playing on such talented teams. I feel like you can get into a mindset where you try and make too big of a play sometimes, and that was Cowman going out of his way, trying to make a big play, and it didn't work out in the favor of Northwood. They weren't able to support him.
All right. ISU, we were talking about record time for Northwood. Well, this is even faster. It feels like it doesn't seem like this payload has any breaks at all in any way, shape, or form. The commitment from Northwood and these ultimates are not stopping. They are not going their way. ISU has point B and 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go all of the way.
Hey, fair is fair. I was raving how Northwood gave themselves 3 minutes on this point. ISU's like, we'll go 150% of what you guys had and get 4.5 minutes. So again, it puts them in a great spot. And again, Cowman's going over to the Sigma now. Rocket finds Lethal, but it's just going to get a little bit of time because ISU has 3 ultimates in this next fight because of the swap arounds. Northwood is in a position where all they're going to have is this Haven high noon to work with the next fight. So ISU has a great window of opportunity to get things going in this next fight.
They do. Remember the bevy of ultimates that Northwood used to win out in the previous round here. Illinois State University is starting to work towards some of their own. Kuffa is going to give us a look of the Ramatra once more, as we're starting to see the 2 teams settle into what they found comfortable on this final stretch of road here for Shambali Monastery. Dead Eyes, Lethal, gonna not find much usage, but purchase so much in the form of room, in the form of space. Haven's going to try and use one of their own. Immortality Field is going to keep them safe and alive. And in fact, Haven, with that Immortality Field, still gets a kill off with a Deadeye of their own. Northwood only suffered the 1 to push back ISU.
Yeah, that was a very, once again, Northwood is having one of those signature Northwood fights. All they used was high noon. ISU used their Amp Matrix, they used their high noon, they used their Pulse Bomb. Lethal's now going to go over to the Ash, which I'm actually kind of a big fan of this. A lot longer sightlines for the Ash to work with, plus this Dynamite in, the situation where we are, where the DPS can limit the amount of heals. That damage over time makes that nerf to the heals that much more dangerous if you get hit by the Dynamite.
It's undeniable, too, the impact that Bob can have on the team. Just that little bit of extra wiggle room. Up in the air goes the Gravitic Flux. Sound barrier. Kuffa needs to stay alive. They are at death's door, knocking on top of it. Immortality Field at the last second saves Haven's life. And you know that they are giving CJ the biggest hug after this.
That they are. And man, ISU still has over 2 minutes on the clock, so yes, you know, they've taken a couple of L's these last couple of fights, but they've just been patient. All they used was sound barrier in that previous fight. This is their next fight that they're really looking at to make something happen. They should get Annihilation, they'll have Pulse, and there's a good chance they're going to be getting Bob online in this fight as well. This is ISU's opportunity to try and get this card across the finish line.
Northwood can spare a minute and some change, trying to meet ISU against this. That's the kind of time bank that they're going to be looking for here. The two Tracers holding on to this Pulse Bomb stodgedly. Again, it needs to find the impact. And Rocket's impact that they had just a round ago was insane. Haven's going to do it again. Walk right in there. Stay inside of the Immortality Field. Stay alive at all possible moments. In comes the Bob. But there you have it. It's not going to do much because the DPS of Northwood are destroying your hopes and your dreams.
Oh, that's an absolutely devastating fight for the side of ISU. They had their opportunities, but they just couldn't make it happen. Lethal had such a great angle, but the rest of the team just crumbled in the face of Northwood just getting aggressive and pushing their backline. They just could not make it happen. You will get Annihilation coming in this next fight. No sound barrier for Northwood, so this could be a good sign for ISU.
Regardless of whatever happens. Oh my god, what a snipe off of Haven's Cassidy. You don't ever see that happening very much. And a Pulse Bomb goes in. It may not have stuck. You definitely send a little bit of fear out here. Gravitic Flux goes up in the air. Cowman way too far forward. This is ISU's best chance to start taking some of this space.
Yeah, and all they used was Ant Matrix, so you're going to have the Annihilation.
They're still doing damage.
But they get Admiral and Lethal, so they only have 3 heroes right now pushing this cart.
It's right there. Right to the finish line. The numbers are in favor of Northwood. ISU has to back off for just the moment and look towards the next team fight that they need to win on. This is Kuffa's Annihilation, and it must surpass all of the expectations. You're gonna get into the face of CJ. You're gonna try and rip them away, and that's exactly what's gonna be happening here. But we're brought inside of overtime. ISU is going to make it happen. Northwood is going to falter at the final moment. And they are not faltering in heart. They beat the timer. They ripped away 4 minutes, Ray. That is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, that's a big statement coming out from Northwood to drain all of that massive time bank that ISU had coming into that point. But it was just them making great adjustments. I like them going over to the Sigma, which then, you know, Kuffa, who had the Terror Surge online, just Sigma matches very well up against Orisa, especially on this 3rd point where Sigma has a lot of space to work with. So you're forced to go over to the Ramatra, and eventually you do go back over to the Orisa to match the Ramatra, but at that point it was too late for Northwood. Kuffa had Annihilation and was able to just bring it on home. But man, 45 seconds separating these two teams. It's basically an extra team fight Northwood was able to afford themselves. But we saw in this previous attacks for both these teams, ISU got that first point a little bit faster than Northwood. So you got to keep that in mind as we go into this attack for ISU.
That's a little, even feels like an understatement, honestly. They were blazing a trail that we thought Northwood was the one making happen, but no, ISU did it even better, and so Northwood cannot collapse like a wet paper cup here.
Attackers incoming.
Couldn't agree more. For the side of Northwood, man, Haven, well, you know, we were talking about Rocket in the first map. This map has been the story of Haven, man. He is absolutely killing it on the Cassidy, going toe-to-toe with Lethal, one of the better Cassidy / hit scan players we have. Haven is matching him and doing better than him on this map, in my opinion.
I'd even give it also to CJ as well. CJ has had so many clutch moments that have kept Northwood alive, and more specifically Haven, enabling their teammate. Kuffa's looking around, trying to disrupt, trying to interrupt. So hungry to get rid of Northwood, but Northwood is not buying into it this time. There's so much more dogged in how they're playing around this pillar and denying vision against the DPS of ISU. In fact, this is going to send Kuffa reeling, but Maymon's victory against Rocket in the Tracer duel and the 1v1 here could open the door, but Cowman instead is going to close it right shut in their face. And time Well, Ray, time is an ever-present factor. We have been brought into the overtime. Vega's going to use the sound barrier. They are purchasing as much as they can, and no one from ISU touches. This, Ray, is now the line in the sand.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot for ISU. That is not a lot of distance gain. I mean, again, it's not a lot of time, and it did take Northwood 2 fights to get ISU off of the high ground previously. So you at least have that going for you if you're ISU. But once again, I know this is a first to 4, but I'm a caster who has the mindset of 2-0, which is going down 2-0 is very hard to recover from. So I feel like if you're ISU, like, pressure is on. You need to stop Northwood. You got to get the fuller hold here.
So much pressure here on ISU now. Right, they gave us that phenomenal performance on point A and point B, stalled out on point C, but they still managed to get payload eventually to where it needed to go. But Northwood Blue, a team, Ray, to me, that learns so quickly on the fly, it's almost unreal what this team has been able to accomplish here. And a reminder, this is a team that is out for blood.
That they are wanting to re-seek their revenge, trying to, recapture, that loss, or redeem the 3-0 loss they had to ISU recently. Their adjustments have been really good so far, but they got to bring it home.
And here's the thing, too, is that Northwood doesn't even really need to rip them off the high ground. They just need to keep pushing the cart. That's really all that they have to keep doing. And the more that they do this, the more that it forces ISU to just kind of meet them as well. See, they had to jump down off of the high ground to meet Northwood down there. Lethal's still going to hold up here. Get rid of the immortality field. That's a massive value. Cowman is playing on top of the payload itself. Lose out here, but remember, Ray, right? We talked about it. They had that minute and 43 seconds on the clock. That's an extra team fight they get to have.
Yeah, it is. And the issue also for Northwood is they just lost Skyle. So they have to be so careful because the respawns are so close for Northwood that they can just re-engage so fast. Admiral has to peel off to go get Skyle, or they are not going to have their healer for this fight. Lethal will have a high noon to buy a lot of space, though.
They will. It's crazy how fast Lethal is built up to this. Cowman's forced to stay on the payload. Safe harbor and refuge. Off of this, the back of this is the final team fight, though, for both of these teams. Skyle's managed to get back and regroup. They're alive. Is the amplification matrix looking through the window? Maybe the pathway to victory. What a stick from Rocket. It's on to cover, of course, so they take a bulk of that damage. But there you have it. Rockets won out in the engagement against Mimone, and they're doing it even more. This Tracer is unstoppable. They are eating, and they are eating good here for Northwood Blue. A second map in this first to 4, now theirs.
Woo-wee, man. This is Northwood coming out, making their adjustments against this ISU squad, and it is coming through in spades. As I talked about, the standout on this map is definitely Haven. Had such a great map overall. Was just finding picks time and time again. Got so much value out of the high noon. When on Lijiang, it felt like Lethal was the one finding the high noon value. This time Haven came back and was like, look, I can match you on this, and did that much better on this map. It was a great improvement, and it's a big reason why Northwood is sitting at 2-0. Keep in mind, this is a first to 4, so ISU still has time to come back, but it's definitely a must-win on map number 3 for ISU.
Otherwise, you're going to have to begin the reverse sweep, and that in and of itself is a lot of pressure. I mean, we've seen it happen many times before, right, Ray? This is Overwatch after all. Miracles and upsets and all sorts of crazy things can happen, but you do not want to be on the receiving end of that here. But looking at this highlight reel, the presence of mind from Northwood and these players time and time again to find the right moments of attack, to find the right moments of safety. That's again why I'm just harping so much on CJ. And when I say harping, I mean praising, blessing their name. Because this Baptiste has just been a difference maker for the team time and time again. And you're looking at all of the crazy plays, right? That Rocket, that Haven is making, but a lot of that is off the back of what CJ is providing for the team and keeping them alive to actually make that happen. These immortality fields over and over again have just changed the whole flow of these team fights and have won them out so many times where Northwood honestly should have lost.
Yeah, there is no doubt in my mind. CJ is playing just so well. I mean, and it's so funny because when you're thinking, you're watching all this stuff on the screen, and it's like, oh, Rocket, look at Rocket, and then look at that headshot from Haven, and then you just, CJ's just like, I'm healing, I'm doing some damage, I'm throwing an Ant Matrix down, but CJ is one of the best supports that we have in NA. I mean, there's a reason why they do so well on that Timeless squad for OWCS. Runners up, put a lot of pressure onto that Toronto squad. But you're in a situation now where you're feeling good. You got the momentum. You're up 2-0, and we're heading into map number 3 where you get this map. That could be just that nail in the coffin to start getting like in the heads, in the mental of ISU, who, they were feeling confident, just 3-0'd them in LCQ, and now they might be being down 3-0.
It's crazy to think about, right? Northwood Blue got 3-0'd by ISU. Now a chance to rewrite the whole script, Ray. Regardless of whatever happens tonight, we are in for an Overwatch matchup of the ages. I cannot believe what we have been able to witness so far out of this Northwood Blue team. A team that has resurged and have given themselves a reminder of who they are, and a reminder as well, Ray, of what they accomplished all the way back in week 2, and bringing it here in the grand finals of the Legends divisions at NECC.
It's going to be the question for me. Talking with these teams before, as I talked about for Redbird specifically, they were very curious to see what kind of adjustments Northwood were going to make coming into this series after the 3-0 loss. You've had 2 maps to really feel it out and figure it out. Now, what adjustments are you going to make to get yourself back in that series? That's going to be the utmost important question, as Flashpoint will be our 3rd map. And, I feel like, we don't know the map yet, but I feel like we actually do, because I feel like we never get New Junk City.
Yeah, we kind of never do, Ray. So let's think about it fondly before we go to our actual Flashpoint map. It's something that ISU may also try and shake up a little bit here, maybe, and try to throw Northwood Blue off their game. But I mean, Lijiang Tower, you think about that control map, that's a standard control map. That's where everyone scrims on. That's where everyone feels the most comfortable on when it comes to Overwatch 2. Shambali Monastery, I kind of felt like may have been a pretty decent wrench in the gears. But now Flashpoint, with the being only the 2 maps that they have, could go into a matter of speaking here for ISU, and just whether or not they want to go for that upset game, or whether or not they've been maybe doing and experimenting with stuff on New Junk City. A lot of different possibilities out there.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I mean, all the earnest right now is on ISU. Northwood's won the first 2 maps, so it's on them to make some sort of adjustment, whether that's a hero swap or just a strategy of going into these fights differently. Like, do you feel like Rocket's getting a lot done? You want to put a lot of more pressure on Rocket? Or do you feel like while Rocket's off doing his own thing, we need to take that earnest while he's away from his team and run down the rest of the team, go after Cowman? Or maybe, as we talked about, Haven played so well on that previous map. Maybe you're looking at him this next map, but something has to be done. Adjustments have to be made to get back in this series. And we do now have that map pick in, and yeah, we knew what it was. It's Servasa.
And what's even more than that, Ray, is I think I'm seeing some substitutions coming along with it. Kuffa is now out of here. For now, for the map of Servasa. Ariel 2. Look at that, Ray. We were talking about it. You were singing their praises. And now here they are to take over that tank position and hopefully lead ISU to their first map victory here, the grand finals.
Yeah, Ariel's a very talented tank player. I was talking about that as we came out. Was surprised not to see them in the starting lineup, but especially like when I'm watching the game, you know, we could see spectator chat, and I saw Ariel come in and start saying some stuff in spectator chat. I'm like, are they going to be coming in next map? And that's just what was going through my head as I'm seeing stuff and, you know, analyzing the game. And yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen, and that could completely change the series for the side of ISU.
It needs to change the series, Ray. It must change the series. Northwood Blue has a 2-0 lead on Illinois State University. This was a team that got 3-0'd in the LCQs by Illinois State University. And so now hopefully with these changes, with a change of tank, it becomes along with it a change of pace. Whatever happens here needs to happen now.
As we see both teams coming out in the mirrors, no surprise here, but on a map like this, where there's a lot more angles and a lot more sight lines to work with, I like the Sojourn picks for both of these teams. Who is going to find those early pickoffs with these rail shots?
Ooh, Ariel, little isolated from the team. Not too worried just yet. Immortality Field is going to bail them out just in the nick of time. It's not kind of drawing out a little bit of bait to go along with it. CJ needs to rotate to make sure their team is alive. The aerial is going to be the first to fall. Tank swap not quite working the way in favor of ISU just yet. Of course, maybe, Ray, they needed a second to warm up here. A second just to get going.
Yeah, I mean, they lost one player, and it was just smart. ISU did the right thing. Everyone just got out of there, didn't let anyone else get picked. And it's going to be a lot less percentage gain for Northwood if they can re-engage, and that's a great javelin coming out from Ariel.
Yeah, it pushes CJ off of the high ground. Really takes away a lot of the aerial healing that they had. Haven was hanging out up there too, but elects instead themselves to go down onto the ground and meet him over on the other side. Spirit this time around not going to be quite as successful as dislodging players from up where they were on high. Northwood is just having the time of their life on this point at this stage, Ray. They're not really feeling too much of that pressure. CJ is doing a phenomenal job of keeping the team up. On top of that, they have the amplification matrix to really push them away. And with Rocket's pulse bomb, there's another added wrinkle ISU has to think of.
Yeah, that it is, as ISU is going to be the first one to pop the amp matrix, however. But Northwood has scattered. They did a great job of avoiding it. It does buy ISU a point.
It also puts Ariel a chance to pop off with a Terra Surge. Actually, Northwood pulling away from the amplification matrix was good enough for ISU to capitalize off of the back of the damage that ultimate managed to buy them. Not only did they get the point, but they got a lot of victory out of it.
Yeah, and I was actually worried that ISU used, you know, a little bit too much in that fight, but it was 2 for 1, so you'll take that, especially to get a lot of percentage going in your favor now. You get your tank back, and now it's still basically a 3v4 ult-wise, so ISU can get aggressive here with how fast this percentage ticks up. This could be final fight.
Is it going to end now? So dangerous. Having to go up against this overclock, but Lethal also knowing that they need to respect the amplification matrix in front of them. And to defang the power of that overclock, and now Haven's opportunity to use one of their own. And so much value being drawn out of not only this ultimate, but this player, Cassidy Sojourn. It does not matter. They all fall the same.
I mean, just well played. Haven just making a statement, getting the better value out of the overclock versus Lethal, and is able to set the team up for that first point capture. As now, you know, we head over to Temple, to Temple for the next point gather. And basically both teams are going to be getting here at the same time. Again, Northwood is going to be able to take a little bit better positioning on this point.
Because of that better positioning, you see how they're going to abuse this against ISU. 10 more seconds to go before the point itself actually unlocks. ISU still struggling to even try to take a vantage point on it. Point is finally going to be unlocked, and now we have the Rocket Pulse Bomb online once more. Maymon is going to follow shortly thereafter. The two Tracers are going to go at each other. It's like wolves meeting up. Rocket's recall has been popped. I believe so did Maymon's there as well. Northwood Blue has advantage of the point being theirs. You see how much that's going. What a stick again. Enough damage being done there. Rocket had already taken a massive amount of their own. Maymon seizing these opportunities as best they can. And the lethal overclock putting in the overtime. Northwood Blue look like they may have had something there, but ISU more than ready to plug in the holes of their lost tank.
Yeah, that was just a great counter punch coming in from ISU. Yes, the pulse bomb came through for Rocket and did a lot of damage, but ISU had basically taken so much damage and health off of the side of Northwood that they're able just to clean up, and Lethal with that overclock is able to just perfectly put the cherry on top of that sundae that ISU built in that fight. They have this pulse bomb to work with their Maymon, so looking at them to set up a big play like Rocket's been doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ariel going with the Terra Surge again.
Yeah,
that's the kind of forethought and thought process that ISU continues to deliver time and time again. It's Rocket being pushed off, getting a little bit of the difficulty. There it is. In comes the Terra Surge. Maymon being a lot more disciplined on the back of this Pulse Bomb this go around, pushing them back, and Maymon's Pulse Bomb, unfortunately, more of a fizzle rather than the explosion that they were looking to gain off the back of that. Northwood Blue's going to walk on site inside of overtime. No overcommitment of ultimates here. If you look at ISU, get a little barren themselves. Oh, and what a stagger.
Yeah, that was 3 ults for them trying to keep that up. You will get another attempt or 2 out of it. Lethal finding Haven, but it's not going to matter. The staggers are still coming in for the side of Northwood, as now this will be the last attempt that ISU gets at this point, and Northwood just has a lot to be able to deal with if you're the side of ISU, and it's not like you have Admiral Soundbearer to help deal with these incoming DPS ults.
But ISU has so much time. They can afford to take these breaks. They can afford to wait for Skyle to get here. Lethal is going to put the pedal to the metal off the back of this overclock. You know, this is overtime. We need to get there for Northwood, and they've managed to do it. What another pulse bomb. It always has to be on the shoulders of Rocket, and they're more than happy to bear that burden, but they need to regroup with the team to get their HP back. Mission accomplished, and now it's time for an overclock of Haven's own. They did it once before, and they're ready to do it again. May not have gotten much out of it this time. No fancy displays of skill from them, but really, it doesn't matter because Northwood has done it once more. Another flashpoint theirs, and a match point theirs as well.
Now, once again, pressure goes back on the side of ISU. They have to reverse sweep this flashpoint map. Gardens, great opportunity to get back on track. Maymon has the pulse bomb available, but Rocket's going to be able to get it online as well, who's just, once again, has just been rounding in form on this map. Just finding pulse bomb kill after pulse bomb kill.
What a spear. Ariel's going to be feeling that one in the morning. Tank extraordinaire, tank supreme. All about the threads of health and life that they may be able to afford themselves. Pulse bomb going to be stopped out. Admiral just could not get away. The forces of danger always attracting them back in. Northwood Blue ready to end this map.
Once again, I think it goes back to a lot of what their head coach was saying before the match, was they feel like just the individual skills of all these players, that sometimes it doesn't matter that they don't get a lot of practice as Northwood specifically. Just the experience and skill these players have is just a big advantage they feel like they have, and it's been on full display.
It really has been. This amplification matrix really just buying time for Haven to regroup with the team. Even more importantly, it's keeping Cowman alive, needing a lot of that extra sustained burst healing. All right, the Sojourners both have the same idea. Just go ahead and get rid of the tank. Vega is also going to give us a sound barrier that Admiral had already used. Nothing to keep them left alive. And now it's time to pull the cord. Lethal's overclock. It has to bring something to the team, but it's not going to bring Jack Diddley. Rocket's double kill. Northwood Blue right there. 99%. No one to touch. And now, Ray, we have a team on series point.
As now ISU has to reverse sweep in a first to 4. That is just so much mental fortitude, so much pressure to be on for a team. As I mentioned, this could have been the big nail in the coffin for Northwood to just really get into the mentals of ISU. Because as we mentioned, they just beat this team a couple weeks ago, 3-0, and now they find themselves in the grand finals of the Legends Division for NECC, down 3-0, and have to rattle off 4 maps in a row to take home the spring championship.
I don't even want to be in the position of having to think about the road ahead that ISU has, Ray. It's so difficult. It's so crazy what Northwood has been able to accomplish here. I mean, a perfect map of Flashpoint. Not a single Flashpoint dropped. And you think about how Lijiang Tower went. At least ISU was able to get one, and also gave trouble to Northwood on every single one of these Flashpoints. Or rather control points on Lijiang. Here on Suravasa, no, this is Northwood, who knows that they've won the previous 2 maps, and they don't care about tank substitutions. They don't care about any changes or swamps or adaptations that ISU is going to make, because Northwood is going to meet them and surpass them.
And to me, it just feels like Northwood's gained momentum, and they're just continuing to press on that gas pedal, and they are not letting up. So ISU has to find a way to come back in the series. Fortunate for them, we're going to be taking a quick break, give them the chance to reset those mentals and come up with a strategy to come back in the series. It's the Legends Division Grand Finals. Northwood up 3-0. We'll be right back.
We are 3-0 in the NECC Overwatch 2 Grand Finals in favor of Northwood against Illinois State University. The Redbirds are on their last chance, Ray. The reverse sweep must begin on our next map or it will be done.
Yeah, it's all coming down to push. Only 3 maps to possibly pick from, and one thing we can tell you right now is Northwood has banned Coliseo. So basically at this point, it's ISU's choice. Are we going to Esperanza or are we going to New Queen Street? And we do have the map pick coming in from ISU, their last opportunity to make something happen in the grand finals. It's all coming down to Esperanza.
Look at that Northwood dominance that we've had so far. If they can close it out here, we are looking at a grand champion, Ray, in the Legends division. And a return to form for Northwood after the loss they suffered to ISU, the LCQ. Once again, though, for ISU, we have more substitutions. Ariel's done their job, and now Kuffa's right back in.
Which is interesting that they're just going back and forth on this tank situation, especially since they've both been playing the same tanks. You think at some point, you know, you want to keep that consistent. It'd be one thing like for Luminosity, for example, in OWCS, False plays the off tanks like the Sigma and stuff like that, and Dante comes into play like Zarya and the main tanks Winston and stuff like that. They have clear like who's playing what and why they're in. In this situation, it's like both of them were playing Orisa, so it's like, what's the reasoning one way or the other? Why did Ariel come in and after that map suddenly we're going back to Kuffa? That is interesting decision coming from ISU, but we're going to have to see if that's going to be the magic to help them get back. Maybe they felt like the first 2 maps were a lot closer, and that third map, they just want to go back to how close the first 2 maps were and hopefully make some changes here or there and clean it up and start getting some momentum in their favor.
Got that ISU composition right there, Ray. I know it's a meme, I know it's a troll, but one can dream, right? One can hope.
I'm not so sure it's definitely like not gonna happen, like especially on Esperanza where there's a lot of high ground control. I could see it happening, especially since they have the Echo and they are gonna roll out on it, because you have the ability with Lethal on the Echo to throw down a lot of damage, especially on top of that Orisa, who can be very potent to the Winston. So you have a great counter to combat, and the anti-nade that Skyle has available with the Ana can be, you know, a great tool to, you know, stymie the aggression that Northwood wants to play with.
All right, a new look from ISU, a completely different composition. Is this the one that will see them through and start the reverse sweep here on Esperanza? Northwood Blue almost at the stage of victory, kind of just backing out and backing away from it, letting ISU garner some pity meterage for re-engaging and taking the fight back into their face. At the moment, it's just all hanging back. Maymon getting pressured out by Rocket once more, sees the opportunity, wants to fight Skyle. You heard it out go there. There was no chance for Admiral to find safety. They had to try and regroup, but Gerald Brigitte is not meant to be.
Yeah, that's gonna be the crux of the issue for ISU, is if they're going to get value on this comp, it's gonna have to be Kuffa, Maimon, and Lethal basically all being on dive screen. They can come at different angles, but they all have to be on the same targets and focus them down quickly, because singularly they don't have enough damage on their own to find these kills.
Haven's gonna be so annoying to Lethal on the Echo, who, by the way, has already built up. What another stick! This time, no immortality field to bail them out of Rocket's Pulse Bomb. Lethal's gonna go for a duplication onto the Orisa, but just as quickly as they were in there, they are now out of it. Losses are being suffered on the side of ISU, but they're gonna try and bring it back. Maymon is doing it. Northwood Blue, even with some of the players that they've lost out on, are still gonna gain so much out of this bot. Even may be able to bring it right there to the forward spawns.
That they gotta make sure they don't allow them to get those forward spawns. Players are back and they found the kills. That's big deal for ISU to not allow them to get that. And now they have these support ultimates online. That's going to be the thing. So Skyle got isolated from Rocket on that pulse bomb. It's kind of Admiral's job to play that bodyguard for Skyle. They just weren't there and able to help deal with Rocket. I mean, it's a tough job asking one of the best tracers in Overwatch to be like, hey, you know, just try and do something, Brig. Like, come on.
Yeah, try and do something. ISU is going to have to try and do something here with their ultimates. When you look at Northwood Blues, heavy of ultimates that they have, it's going to be a reckoning here. That much is for sure. Rocket, you see the recall having to be popped to keep them alive. We're up on the high ground. Lethal is taken to the skies. Going to get into the face of Haven. You heard the Deadeye get pumped, and you see Vega trying to save their teammate. But Kava, empowered by nanobots in their blood. Bot's going to run away for just a smidge here. It's going to run away for more than just a smidge here, Ray. Where's that bot going? Someone's got to stop it.
They should get there before the forward spawns. No way. Okay. Whew. Cowman. And that's a big deal because now they're not going to get nearly as much distance on this cart as they would have hoped. So Cowman sneakily just taking a lot of value out of that fight that ISU was just able to win. And now, if you're ISU, you're going to have to win another fight to get these forward spawns unlocked. So you're going to have to commit a lot more of these ultimates coming online. But you pulled out a lot of Northwood. You have CJ, who's now forced over to the Kiriko to help cleanse this anti-nade.
It feels like we've all just hit the reset button, Ray. ISU won out the fight, but Cowman's pressings to actually push the bot in the way that they did was so smart. It's a trade, however, as the bot continues to go out of the hands of ISU. Northwood is so dogged on this, but a brilliant stick from Maymon onto Vega loses out on their Lucio. What is the bot still doing? How does Northwood keep continuing to gain control of it?
Because they don't have a lot of damage, and Cowman keeps getting on top of that payload, and on top of the bot, I mean, and just not, they just can't go face some 1v1. The big anti-nade coming in, gonna stymie, and now ISU finally has an opportunity here, but Rockets found Maymon.
Even without Cowman, they can still try and fight this out. They need to fight this out. We're stalled out. I mean, Ray, we're at 50 meters. We still have 5 minutes on the clock. It really doesn't feel like this bot is going anywhere. Northwood is just more concerned about taking the bot and pressure away from this dive style composition. And this kind of forces ISU to regroup, to recontest.
Yeah, Cowman going over the D.Va, going to be able to put a lot of pressure on this Winston. Nano engaged now coming in for Kappa.
They're going to have to try and survive through the Foxes, though. CJ's given us that, and Maymon is going to give their life as Vega is reminding us all that they may be a support, but they are also very much just as deadly as a DPS.
Yeah, and that's likely the forward spawns now completed for Northwood, which is just very unfortunate. And man, they're just barely able to keep Lethal alive. They actually might have an opportunity to recontest here. Now, it doesn't look like it.
No, even better than that, you've gotten rid of Maymon's recall. Rocket showing us what this tracer is capable of time and time again, and they may do it here once more with a pulse bomb online. Up in the air they go. Cowman making sure to meet Kuffa at every single angle and opportunity. Whether the tracers have the recall online, it's Rocket a little bit worse for wear. Not for too long though. The heal's gonna come back, bring this DPS up to full. We do have those forward spawns available for Northwood. Really at this point, just drawing out as much time as possible.
That they are, but you gotta find some kills. You gotta make something happen. ISU has the ult. They gotta get aggressive here, as we're gonna see the D.Va dupe from Lethal.
That may be where the aggression comes in. Get in the face of Haven. Stop them from getting healed. The immortality field, the sound barrier rather, is gonna keep them alive. And a Rocket does it again, and again. This DPS from Northwood Blue are just built differently, Ray.
I will say it did cost them 4 ults in that fight, but you will take that every day to Sunday. You're going to get so much cart distance as we're rounding 3 minutes. ISU going to have 4 ults online, as now you're in this situation where Skyle's on the Kiriko. So we're Kiriko Brig now. This not a support combination you see a lot of the time. But I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's a lot of healing, and Brig can, still be able to proc that Inspire lot, but they don't have to worry as much about guarding the Kiriko as you would if you're on the Ana.
ISU, 4 ultimates online. Northwood Blue gonna give up some of that ground they've garnered to take the fight on the bridge and on the stairway. Give their DPS that high ground. Now we're gonna see the first of the ultimates from ISU pop. Guffa is gonna give us a very angry monkey, but look at how much damage happened. Maymon's pulse bomb is not gonna get anything, any value. So ISU already 2 ultimates done, nothing gained out of it.
Yeah, it's just feels like they're just slow. I mean, great Suzu coming in for the pulse bomb. Skyle finds Rocket. There we go. This is the cleanup we need to see from ISU. But, I mean, it will be in a position where they should be able to get rid of these forward spawns before Northwood gets good advantage, especially if they can find this stagger.
Haven got back in there. Finally, for a chance for ISU to start pushing the bot. Even a 4 of them getting as close as they possibly can to the forward spawn. Northwood Blue, 78 meters. It's over 40 that ISU has to meet.
Haven's got the high noon online once again. Has been a big standout player these last few maps. Can he continue to make these plays time and time again to push Northwood and give them the championship dupe on the Diva once again?
What a magnetic grenade. What a stick. Almost all of Lethal's health's been taken away, but the 2 tanks dive on top of the squishy Cassidy. Lethal ripped out of their mech before they purchase a new one. And ISU has found the fight inside of them once more.
That they get the forward spawns. They put themselves in a great position to at least get this cart close to tying it up. However, Northwood has just been stockpiling this war chest, Sam. They're going to have 4 ultimates to come back into this next fight. So you have to hope Maimon hits a pulse bomb of all pulse bombs. 1 minute left on the clock.
A minute left on the clock. What distance Northwood Blue had is starting to get narrower and narrower. That lead slipping away ever so tenuously in their grasp. ISU is going to make sure to stay in their face. They still have the 2 ultimates. Northwood Blue, an insane amount of their own. In comes the Foxes. Out goes the pulse bomb. Rocket dodges it. Haven has to give us a lesson on what a Deadeye can do. Gonna get too much off the back of that. And behind with some of those sticky grenades. Drawing out time once more. Rocket's pulse bomb, the one of the century that needed to happen. Instead, it became one of the second. Cowman has a self-destruct for us. Vega's gonna keep them alive with the sound barrier. ISU all over the place. Kuffa enraged once more. Ready to throw some monkey fists. When these fists are being denied, so much damage being done. Lethal's duplicate onto the Diva. Gonna give him a self-destruct, but Kuffa has fallen. Cowman has 2. And so now all that's left is the remnants of whatever these teams have inside of them to fight back. Maimon is gone. Haven looking up towards the sky. Lethal needs to be ripped out of there. They've done it, but Haven sacrifices themselves from the sticky bombs that Lethal has given us on a martyrdom. Looking to get it back and forth. Cowman is going to switch over to the Doomfist. We are in overtime, Ray. It is now or never, and it means never here. Kuffa's back and regrouped with the team once more. Everything hinging on this Winston to stay alive, but they are not going to be able to do it. And Northwood Blue has done it. The complete and total series, a shutout, 4-0.
Completely redeeming their loss in the CECC. LCQ against this team comes back like, listen, you 3-0'd us, we get it. We came back and now we 4-0'd you. We're taking the NECC Spring Championship. Northwood came to play today, Sam, and they just showed us all night long just why they were the better team. I mean, we had so many pop-off moments from so many players. Rocket had his time to shine on Lijiang Tower. It was the Haven story, 2 maps, 3 maps later, and just their supports for Northwood had just been so consistent. Vega, we haven't talked about Vega enough, but Vega is one of the best main supports we have in NA, plays with the Toronto Defiant, and just that experience that they've had with that team is just showing strong in this series.
And what a series this has been, Ray. The grudge match has been accomplished, and now you are a grand champion. Undeniable. Unbelievable what Northwood Blue has accomplished here tonight. They stood tall against ISU, 3-0'd against them. But now they're the ones here to throw it right back in their face and do them one even better. Perfection at its finest.
You just summed it up, Northwood. I mean, 4-0, just complete and utter perfection. Only dropped one sub-map on Lijiang Tower all night. They won every single map and won every single flashpoint as well. So, I mean, their only smear all night was literally that 100-0 on night market that ISU was able to win. But man, outside of that, they were just absolutely dominating. They just played so well as a team, and the skill that these players have were just on full display. And it, again, as I mentioned, just continues to say about what their coach told me before the game. He felt the big advantage they had was, despite not, playing together as a full team as much as like ISU does, they felt like the skill they have in their players can outweigh that a lot of the time, and they showed it.
And you know what else we can talk about here for Northwood? This is complete and total perfect record, minus that one forfeit that they had, but a perfect record for them throughout the season, right? Had not suffered a single loss. Doesn't matter the opponent, doesn't matter who they are. They will come, they will conquer, and they have proven it here tonight. A showing that I think that will go down in the history books, honestly, Ray. And honestly, too, when you're talking about what the coach has been saying, I'm sure that this is a big moment of pride for this team. We saw them do it all the way back in week 2, right? They beat out ISU, but that was a 3-2 game. That was a game that went the whole way, the whole distance. Granted, right, it was off the back of a whole slew of new changes that came through in Overwatch 2. Whatever Northwood Blue has been doing throughout the season to continue to refine themselves and to continue to learn how to improve themselves, they showed it all off tonight, and they showed it off in ways that no one will ever forget.
Yeah, so shout outs and congratulations to Northwood Blue, your Spring Legends Grand Finals champions. 4-0 against Illinois State. They never even had to sweat. They just cruised through, made it look easy. And again, just shout outs to them. Round of applause. Cannot wait to see, especially with some big events we have coming up. The LAN for NECC and CECC coming up in beginning of May. I'm sure we'll see these two teams there again, and this might be a grudge match. I mean, it's been a grudge match between these two teams, but it's only continuing to evolve over time with the new iterations of these rosters.
I can't wait, Ray. We have so much to be able to look forward to. Overwatch Collegiate is not done just yet. You mentioned yourself, the NECC CECC LAN happening in Arlington, Texas. It is going to be an event for the ages, one that I cannot wait to witness myself. Unfortunately for us, that is it for tonight. I do want to say a big thank you to our producers in the background, Carol and Hippie, for their amazing observing and for their amazing production work. Of course, I also want to give a big shout out to our other two set of casters who have also been with us throughout this entire journey this season. That is Bull Skunk and Chef Billy, two amazing individuals who care deeply about this scene. And ones that inspire and help guide the way for all of us, and a beacon that we can always look to. And also, a big thank you to everyone who watched throughout the season. Again, make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the notifications for when we go live, because like I said, we're not done just yet. There's still more to go on throughout the month and throughout the week. So until then, we'll see all of you on the next broadcast.